Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Dustin. Welcome into the Mosh Pit. And this here is the Grime Should You Buy video where I'm discussing the game that's coming out right now called Grime. And if you were interested, I'm going to give you a little bit of my impressions, what the game's like. If you're don't want to see any spoilers, maybe don't watch this video. But if you're not, I'm not going to go into story or a whole lot of like some of the advanced stuff that gets on and further in the game. Just kind of give you a general impression of what I thought of the game. I'm in the middle of playing through my first playthrough. I tried to get through the whole thing before the game came out. It is a difficult game, and I was very busy this week. So hopefully my impressions will give you just kind of an idea of whether or not you want to buy the game. Spoiler, I really liked it. So let's get into Grime and kind of what this game is. And yeah, let's go over some of how it works and kind of the main gist. All right, so Grime, if you didn't know, is a Souls-like platformer Metroidvania. It's very similar to games like Salt and Sanctuary or Blasphemous, Hollow Knight, that kind of game. Death's Gambit, if you played that. I did find quite a bit of similarities with Hollow Knight. Souls-like games, it has some Souls-like-ish tendencies, but there are some things that kind of pull it away from that a little bit more too. Metroidvania, it definitely is, because you learn powers and things as you go through the game. You are your character. I haven't really figured out. The story is, I guess, like Dark Souls, very kind of vague. I know that a lot of the characters that you meet don't like you very much. They don't think you should exist, and they're kind of pissed off. You have been born or made in some way that just upsets them. You are made out of mass, and when you kill or absorb other creatures in the world, when you fight enemies, you do damage and kill them, you get their mass. You also find tablets throughout the world that give you extra mass, similar to Dark Souls, where you find a pile of souls, and then you can use those to level up or buy things. As you kill things, you get souls. When you are parrying with your black hole head, you are sometimes, if you parry an enemy that is absorbable, you will absorb their souls and kill them immediately. Sometimes you'll have certain enemies that are shielded, and so your absorb or parry with your head will do a little bit of damage to their shield. Sometimes that is enough to stun them. Sometimes that's enough to knock a bit of their health off. It just depends. Now, not only are you getting mass when you are parrying and damaging and killing things, you have a chance when you do an absorb to get breath. So you're gaining breath, they call it, which is your healing ability. And once your breath meter is all the way full, then you can use that breath to regain health. So if you are absorbing enough enemies, your breath meter will go up. You can use that to get health, and that's your healing. You really don't have very many healing options other than that. There are some skills, which will go into how you get a skill in a little bit. But if you skill into certain areas, you can get more breath, and you can get more healing from that ability, but it's not like Dark Souls where you have an Estus Flask or some kind of thing like that you're carrying around. There aren't items necessarily that will just instant heal you. So the healing is very few and far between. So you need to be very careful when you're in this game. It is a very dangerous world, and it's very easy to die and have to reset. And sometimes that reset can be pretty painful if you haven't figured out where you're going and you're a little lost. And that's where it gets into kind of a Hollow Knight territory, which we'll also go into in a second. Now, like Dark Souls, there are a bonfire. It's not a bonfire, though. It's this big pink stone that you smash your fist into, and you go into the stone. And in there, you can grow yourself in the different talent points. Take a look at what you can use your points on. So you have your standard health you can put points into. You can see on my current playthrough, I do not have very much in health. I've been maxing out Resonance. Resonance is the ability, any ability or weapon that you use that is based on a resonance. So every time I absorb or parry an attack, I'm doing more damage. You have your dexterity and strength, which is pretty standard. Force is your stamina. So if you're familiar with Dark Souls, you'll know what stamina is. That's the amount of times you can do things like dodge, hit, jump. Those things all take a little bit of your force. And then health is pretty straightforward. As you're killing enemies and absorbing them, you are gaining these traits. All these traits are gained, some of them instantly when you kill a larger enemy. So some enemies you only have to absorb them once because they're a higher tier enemy, and you will get their trait. Some enemies you have to absorb sometimes up to 6-7 times before you get their trait, and it will tell you when you absorb an enemy you only have 1 of 5. And then 2 of 5, and as you make progress killing that enemy with your absorb. Now, you can't just kill it with your weapon. If you kill it with your weapon, you don't get this. It's only when you parry it and absorb it, and it dies in that process. So not all enemies have that ability, so you don't get traits from every single enemy, but there are quite a few, as you can see here, that I have, that I've been able to absorb and gain their traits. And then the larger enemies will give you these hunt points. And the hunt points are the little red diamond that you see there. Those hunt points can be spent into these different traits to get them. So we'll take a look at those now. You can see here, Boulder Head. If I absorb him, I reduce 25% of incoming damage after failing to absorb an attack. That costs 1 point. I can hold that down and absorb it, and then the next one would be 2 points. The next one from there would be 3 points. So you can either spec way into this. If you feel like you're going to fail absorbing a lot, you can be like, all right, well, I'll get all the way up to like 75% of incoming damage will be if I fail to absorb. You have things like restoring your force. So right now I have 2 points into this, 45% of my force. So almost half of my stamina will be replenished if I absorb somebody. And so when somebody attacks me, I kill them up to a point where I can absorb them. And then they hit me, I parry them, absorb them, I get 45% of my force back. It's pretty powerful if you're fighting multiple enemies. And it's things like that. There's a whole bunch of these traits that you can get and spend your points on. And it's a unique way to play the game each time. Now, these points are very limited because the only way to get those points is to kill the high-tier enemies. Once you kill that high-tier enemy, it goes away and you no longer have a chance to get a point. So is it going to encourage multiple playthroughs on this game? And there's so many different ways that you can play the game because there's also a ton of weapons. I can show you just the weapons that I've found here. And I have not beat the game yet because, like I said, it is difficult. So just the weapons I've found here. I've got a page of weapons, all different types, from strength-based weapons, dexterity-based weapons, resonance-based weapons. There's also quite a few different armor sets that you can get. None of the armor sets do anything, but that's fine. They're all cosmetic, and it's just a fashion thing. Fashion souls, only souls. I kind of like that because there's so much other things that I'm managing. And it probably would have been tough for the devs to also create a whole bunch of armor class type stuff. And I'm kind of actually glad that they didn't go that route. There's also quite a few items in the game that do a bunch of unique little things. I won't go into all the different items. I probably could make a whole video separately on the items and what they do. But you do have quite a few items that will help you out throughout the game. The one that is pretty much one of the most important ones for me is this Breath Dew fragment. This is probably the only thing close to a healing item that you're going to find. When you crush this, you gain half a bar of breath. So if you're close to having enough breath to heal, you can crush this and get it, or you can crush 2 of them and get a full breath meter and be able to heal yourself. And that breath meter is not something. Sometimes you'll be in areas where there's no enemy to absorb, and so you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to heal? I'm screwed. Having one of those on you as an emergency is super awesome. So let's talk about how I feel about the game. So for me, I don't know what this game's going to cost yet. It only says wishlist on Steam at the time of making this video. So I can't really say, is it worth that amount of money? Because I don't know what that amount of money is. but it's an indie game, and I feel like it's probably going to be affordable. And for me, I was given the key out of the blue. I had not thought I was going to get it. I was actually real lucky. I got an email from somebody that said, "I liked your tweet about Grime. Here's a key." I was like, "Oh, shit." Thank you very much. Akupara Games. Thank you. I have also played other games of theirs and was totally looking forward to this. So it was very fun to play this a week early. This game is very challenging. It is Dark Souls, Hollow Knight, similar. I would say for me, I was really frustrated by Hollow Knight and didn't finish it. So if you are somebody that could play through Hollow Knight and get to the end, then you're going to probably have no problem with this game. For me, I have struggled through some of the parts, but I feel like I am managing to figure out the mechanics. And a lot of times what I've found in the game is that it's not easy to, how do I put this? I found that I'll find a certain set of enemies and I'll learn their timing, right? And I can absorb them, I can hit them. I'm getting really good on these enemies. And then I get into the next area, and that set of enemies has a completely different set of timing, totally different types of attack that are like, oh my, what? Oh, I'm not used to, oh geez, I got to learn this. And so then I struggle through the first part of that, learning those moves of those creatures that are in that area. And there's been quite a bit of variety on types of enemies and their move sets and how they look and what kind of traits they give you. I mean, there's a lot of variety in here. It is way deeper than I thought it would be for an indie game in this genre. It is just has a lot going on for it, and there's definitely a whole lot of replayability. The map system is very similar to Hollow Knight, where you have to find an item, the beacon, to open up a certain section of the area so that you can see where you've been. It won't open up the areas just like you found the beacon and then everything opens up. It shows you where you've been. But until you find that beacon, you just have a big black space and you see your icon. So like kind of getting into a new area, finding that beacon should be priority one. For me, there were certain times where I made it through 2 different sections, still had never found the beacon, and was just going to be lost all the time. That's just how it was. And then going back, realizing there's got to be something I missed, and really digging through those areas, I finally found the beacons and started opening up the map, and I was like, geez, it was so hard until I found the beacon. Then the beacon made it feel like everything opened up. And it was the same thing with Hollow Knight. If you played through Hollow Knight, you'll remember the same feeling that when you go through that area, it seems like you're like, man, I really wish I knew where the hell I was going or where I've been. And then you find the map guy and you're like, oh, thank God, finally know where I'm going. And speaking of traversal, every time you kill a boss, you get another power. So these powers aren't something that you're buying at the store. The store or the people that upgrade things are not selling you powers that help you traverse things. You find a boss, and that big boss, when you kill it, it gives you some kind of ability that helps you to get through the game more. And usually it's a traversal item. Sometimes it's also, I've found some items that they give you, the power will give you a traversal ability, but it also helps to fight other things. So there's a mix of things that you're growing with the world, similar to every Metroidvania, right? You're getting the ability to help you go from place to place. That ability also could be used as a damage mechanic or something for some kind of defensive posture. And this is what this game does as well. And it definitely feels great. When you beat that boss, I mean, these bosses are not a cakewalk. I beat the first boss in the demo and I thought, oh, wow, if all the bosses are like this, well, of course, the tutorial demo boss is going to be the easy one. The rest of the bosses, it starts amping up. And I'm currently stuck on one right now that I've been playing for about an hour and a half trying to beat him. But each boss will give you another Metroidvania type ability that gets you into the next area. And you'll see different places where you can't get because you don't have that ability yet. And then you'll get a special dash in the air, or you'll get a special grab attack that pulls things in a way that gets you to another area, that kind of thing. And I've really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. Now, for me, I spec high into the new mechanic so that I could use resonance as either a fighting ability for the weapons, because I wanted to try those out. You know, I played a lot of Souls games, beat all 3 of the Dark Souls games, beat platinumed Salt and Sanctuary, beat Blasphemous. Those kinds of games they call to me because they're hard, but then they're very satisfying when you overcome it. Hollow Knight's probably the one that I feel the worst about not finishing, but it was just the twitchiness of the platforming. I just couldn't do the platforming part. If it was just attacking, that'd be one thing, but the platforming really was hard for me, and I don't know why. But this game, it definitely feels like my kind of jam. So if you're into Souls-like games, if you have tried any of these Souls-like platformer Metroidvania type games like Salt and Sanctuary and stuff, you're gonna really like this game, and it's gonna be the one for you. I'm guaranteed. I've just had so much fun with it. I wanted to do a full review where I beat the game in a week. I'm taking my time with it, right? I'm not trying to beat the game in a week anymore. And not just because I can't beat the game in a week. I just have had a lot going on. It's more that I got to the point where I said, you know what? I don't want to rush through the game. I want to take my time searching all the different areas, going through, not trying to force through the review process. I wanted to make sure that I said, you know, is this game worth buying and do I enjoy it? Yes. Yes, I do. And I'm going to continue playing it till I beat it. Hopefully you do as well. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to be picking this up, what you think of Metroidvania Souls-like type games in general. If there's any that I didn't mention on here that you're like, oh, you should really try this, throw that in the comments as well. I'd really love to hear that. And let's just hope great success for this game, because I think that if it has success like I think it's going to have, we might be able to see DLC and a possible Grime 2. I mean, Salt and Sanctuary 2 was something that was a super surprise for me. I did not think that was getting announced this year, and I'm super excited for that because I love that game. So, yeah. Happy Grime, everybody. Absorb all those assholes, and I will see you in the next video.